he want 200 million for Benavidez, and he want 150 million to fight me. So that just lets me know right there that I'm a threat.
The vision of 2030 in our country, to do and deliver to the market the best fight with good price and make the fight that people want to see.
In a shocking move, Turki Alalshikh has lost it on Canelo Alvarez for ducking the Terence Crawford fight. On the other hand, there is criticism of Crawford about the hypothetical scenario of whether he could hold his own against Canelo Alvarez if they ever face off. The notable contrast lies in Madrimov's slightly more polished technique compared to Canelo, who could press Crawford but lacks equivalent head movement. However, the significance of weight classes cannot be overlooked. Canelo's relentless pressure may overwhelm Crawford, especially considering Crawford, despite putting on a commendable performance, faced difficulties against Madrimov. A challenge faced by many Eastern European fighters is their rapid progression in the professional ranks due to their stellar amateur careers. This swift transition often leaves them without the time to build a significant reputation, resulting in a lack of prominent profiles and followings at the world level. Madrimov experienced a similar scenario. He wasn't widely recognized initially.
I don't know, I mean, it's one thing. I mean, I wouldn't think that Canelo watched Crawford on Saturday and was afraid of fighting him at 68. I think for Canelo, it's more about the credibility he gets through victory. I think he's a little bit concerned, having spoke to him in the past, that if he beats a guy that's coming up from 147 to 168, is he really going to get the respect for that? So we'll see. I mean, money talks. You know, if it's the right deal, he'll always take the fight.
However, his reputation grew even in defeat as his skills became evident to all. In a bout against the world's top pound-for-pound fighter, both competitors demonstrated exceptional intelligence and skill. The match was so closely contested that a draw would have been a fair outcome. Crawford may not be the most formidable puncher in the 154 PBS division, but his exceptional ring IQ allows him to hold his own against any opponent, albeit with inherent risks. At 36, he's navigating a highly competitive landscape, making possible bouts with Timcha Sebastian, Fundora Virgil Ortiz Jr. Serhii Bohachik, or even a rematch with Madrimov is particularly exciting. Interestingly, while the talent pool at 160 pounds seems thinner, the leap to 168 pounds appears daunting and perhaps too ambitious after Crawford's decisive victory over Errol Spence at 147 pounds. The buzz about him taking on Canelo at 168 pounds left me baffled. However, I don't doubt that this match can materialize. Canelo is expected to be the favorite in his September fight against Edgar Berlanga. Berlanga has faced challenges at the world level and is now stepping up in competition if Canelo bypasses, facing his biggest threats at 168 pounds. David Benavidez or David Morrell's options narrow significantly. This sets the stage for a possible Canelo-Crawford showdown as early as May 2025. If Crawford stays at 154 pounds, where he belongs, he'll be a key player in one of boxing's most competitive weight classes. The upcoming bout between Ortiz Jr., whom I slightly favor, and Bohachik this Saturday is so intriguing that even the loser could still be a possible future challengers who shouldn't be sidelined due to his injury against Fonder either, and a rematch with Madrimov would be equally exciting.
How is Crawford going to be able to bridge this weight gap?
Yeah, I don't think he can, in all honesty. I mean, he might not be able to bridge it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
one weight class.
68, yeah, but you're coming up from 35, 35, 40, 47, 54. Sooner or later, it's one too many. And 68 is definitely too many. But Crawford's brilliant. Like, he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. But you have to use your movement. If you're Terence Crawford in that fight, the last thing you want to do is stand and trade. He'd be moving a lot in that fight, trust me. I'm not saying he'd be running, but he would be moving a lot. Of course, that's the way to beat him.
Yeah.
Crawford stepping into the ring for his debut at 154 pounds won a unanimous decision win over the previously undefeated Madrimov, despite Madrimov's relentless efforts and powerful shots that kept him in contention until the final bell. The American emerged victorious following his career-defining triumph over Errol Spence Jr. last year, where he asserted his dominance and halted his welterweight adversary in the 9th round. Bud has now turned his focus towards the 168 PBS. Champion saw Canelo Alvarez transitioning to super middleweight would mean a leap of 2 weight classes for the fighter who began his professional career in the 135 pounds lightweight division. Initially, Canelo brushed off the bout, arguing that a win over the smaller opponent wouldn't earn him any respect, yet his stance has softened recently, with him gym now open to the fight provided the financial terms are appealing, given that Turki Alalshikh, the influential figure driving major boxing events in Saudi Arabia, has prominently placed this matchup at the top of his agenda. Canelo might just see his conditions fulfilled during an interview with Fight Hub TV prior to the Madrimov bout. Evander Holyfield expressed astonishment at the idea of Crawford moving up 21 pounds to face Canelo. He was taken back by the notion and foresaw the larger opponent emerging victorious. He said it's going to be hard for him to beat Canelo. He's really basic, but he's a good fighter. After witnessing a strong but competitive performance at super welterweight tonight, a lot of fans would concur, but was questioned about the significance of the fight with the Mexican after it had concluded. Crawford said, "You know what I say, if the money's right, we got to fight. At the same time, he got a fight that he's focused on. I'm going to go back to my family and enjoy this win. Enjoy all the accomplishments that I've made in the sport of boxing." Crawford further added, "Not at all. I'm pretty sure he could fight at 168. This guy is big in the amateurs. He fought at a higher weight than he is now, and he was very competitive. The Canelo fight is not so important to me. It's just another milestone to greatness, I suppose." And financially, on September 14th, Canelo will step into the ring to face the undefeated Puerto Rican contender Edgar Berlanga should Canelo maintain his WBC, WBA, and WBO super middleweight titles. Boxing enthusiasts might be treated to a highly anticipated showdown between Canelo and Crawford early next year. The relentless battle stretched the full distance, something the 36-year-old from Omaha hadn't experienced in his last 11 bouts, and was awarded unanimously to the two-time undisputed champion. Although there was some controversy over the scorecards, few in the boxing world dispute that the victory was well-earned. The bout drew the attention of boxing legends past and present, including the likes of Mike Tyson, Roberto Duran, Shocker Stevenson, and Devin Haney told Fight Hype on his way out that the American was winning easily up to that time despite the fact that he exited the main event mid-action. He said, "Come on now, Crawford. Yeah, he's winning. Clearly, Madrimov is putting up a good fight. Styles make fights, though it's boxing and the weight is showing, but Crawford is Crawford." When questioned about Crawford's chances against Canelo after observing his performance at his new weight and with the prospect of moving up to more divisions, Haney confidently endorsed, "But for the challenge that an anticipated clash between the two top-tier operators might remain a fantasy for fans, what once seemed a tangible possibility when Turki Alalshikh from Riyadh seasoned revealed that he had extended an offer to the Mexican fighter has now been dashed." Every boxing enthusiast dreams of witnessing the ultimate showdown, Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez, to titans of the sport clashing in a momentous bout of speculation about this high-stakes fight has been swirling for a while, and even His Excellency Turki Alalshikh has voiced his enthusiasm for this eagerly anticipated matchup. Beyond the ongoing discussions, social media is already alive with predictions and debates about who will emerge victorious or who holds the upper hand. Alexander Usyk is gearing up for a rematch with Tyson Fury shortly after his dramatic win over the Mancunian. Usyk made the surprising move of relinquishing the IBF title, which meant his reign as undisputed champion was one of the briefest in boxing history. Just like many others, Usyk found himself addressing the ongoing debate surrounding the Crawford-Alvarez matchup following his victory over Fury. The reigning pound-for-pound king joined Stephen Kim and Mario Lopez on their podcast 3 Knockdown Rule. With the buzz surrounding Crawford's light middleweight debut hitting fever pitch, the conversation inevitably turned back to the heated topic, intensifying as expected. Michael Benson shared Usyk's response in a tweet today in the original video as the show neared its end. Host Mario Lopez finally asked, "What about there's talk? It's not official, of course, but there's talk of a possible fight between Canelo and Terence Crawford. How do you see that fight?" "I like," Terence replied. The champion. Usyk revealed that Bud happens to be his friend, but when the push comes to shove, Terence Crawford will win, he added. "It's different, man. Terence works in two sides right and left, but it's very smart, man. It's very smart, but feel the space and the place." Once Terence Crawford achieved the historic milestone of being boxing's first male two-division undisputed champion, he made his next goals unmistakably clear. Beyond a bout with Alvarez, Crawford had his sights set on Gerald Charlo. Yet this plan shifted when the Iron Man faced a setback against the Mexican legend throughout. The significant weight disparity between them continued to stir unease and apprehension throughout the boxing community. It was evident that fans were far from reaching a consensus on the ultimate victory, while some remained confident that the super middleweight champion would retain his title unchallenged, while others were convinced that the Nebraskan southpaw had the skill and determination to claim the crown considering Alexander Usyk's impressive winning streak. Fans suggest that the Ukrainian champion might encounter an anomaly in the Crawford-Alvarez matchup. They argue that Canelo Alvarez's physical prowess could offer him a decisive edge, possibly making it a one-sided affair where he could overshadow Bud Crawford. Anthony Fowler, a Commonwealth Games gold medalist and former professional boxer, is backing Canelo Alvarez for the victory. He emphasizes that weight classes are pivotal in boxing outcomes, asserting that Alvarez's dominance in the 168 pounds division places him as the undeniable frontrunner.
I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to his legacy, because it would be crazy for a guy that started at 135 to come all the way up to 168. Your weight, no catch weight, no none of that, and dethroned.
Considering how Yuri Orcus Gamboa rattled him in their 2014 bout, fans aren't too sure about Bud Crawford's ability to handle the powerful punches from Alvarez. They even cheekily proposed that Crawford might want to get a first-hand account from Gerald Charlo about the sting of Alvarez's blows, highlighting the Mexican champion's skill. They forecasted that the fight could very well conclude by the 6th round, with Alvarez emerging victorious nonetheless. Some fans align with Usyk's perspective in a hypothetical bout between Crawford and Alvarez. They favored Crawford, arguing that Bud's exceptional movement reflexes and punching power could allow him to take control of the fight, while acknowledging that Alvarez's rock-solid chin might prevent a knockout. They maintained that Crawford would give no quarter in the ring. Some began to think that Terence Crawford might benefit from taking a page out of Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s strategy if he aims to beat Canelo Alvarez. Mayweather's approach, which depended on his superior technical prowess to outmaneuver the Mexican fighter, could provide Bud with the best chance to secure a victory. The contentious nature of this matchup is now quite clear. However, Sean Porter thinks that Crawford's next move could be a showdown with Saul Canelo Alvarez. Porter thinks Crawford can beat the Mexican four-weight champion in a major battle like that. Porter told Port it's a realistic fight in some way. It would be an upset if Terence won, but I don't think so. Porter has experienced Crawford's exceptional skill firsthand, having been defeated by TKO in 2021 by the pound-for-pound standout. That bout marked the end of Porter's career, which had been distinguished by his dual reigns as the IBF and WBC welterweight champion. Crawford is a stone-cold athlete with an intellect that can't be duplicated, according to the retired world champion. Because of these qualities, Porter thinks Crawford might pose a serious threat to Canelo in a future fight. Porter said, especially if he does something amazing on fight night here against Madrimov. I think it's not an upset. That's a 50-50 to me, and I do think Crawford could beat Canelo since his TKO loss to Terence Crawford in July 2023, which marked his first professional defeat. Errol Spence Jr. has been missing from the ring for years. Spence and Crawford were formidable welterweight rivals, but now that Bud is considering a high-profile showdown with the superstar Canelo Alvarez, the truth has given an unexpected perspective on the potential matchup. Crawford and Alvarez are currently regarded as two of the premier pound-for-pound boxers globally, and their anticipated matchup promises to be one of the most monumental fights in boxing history. Although the Mexican fighter has shown minimal enthusiasm for a bout with the Nebraska native, Spence Jr. is confident that his former rival can deliver the undisputed super middleweight champion his first defeat at 168 pounds. Spence said if Crawford wants to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great. I'm with it. I'd be going for it. I don't know if he'd win or lose, but if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off. He's chasing greatness. On July 29, 23 boxing fans witnessed a monumental clash as Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. squared off. This epic showdown was more than just about it. It was a quest to become the inaugural undisputed welterweight champion of the four-belt era. With both fighters stepping into the ring with unblemished records, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Anticipation buzzed with expectations of a closely contested bout, but as soon as the opening bell sounded, it was clear that Bud was firmly in command, unshaken by the fact that he had never been knocked down before. Crawford sent the truth to the canvas 3 times before clinching a TKO victory in the 9th round. Both fighters have transitioned to the super welterweight division. The Nebraska native is poised to make his debut against WBA champion Israel Madrimov, while Spence Jr. is negotiating a bout with Sebastian Fundora, the reigning WBC and WBO champion. Rumors are circulating that the truth might be hanging up his gloves for good. In a recent interview before his bout with Madrimov, Bud was asked about this speculation. His response was like, "Man, I'm only worried about one person. I'm not overlooking this guy. He's a tough opponent. It's going to be tough." Meanwhile, Canelo thinks that this past weekend Israel Madrimov ought to have raised his hand in triumph in Los Angeles. The Uzbekistan fighter's attempt to retain his WBA light middleweight title fell short against Terence Crawford, who emerged victorious by unanimous decision in a tightly contested battle. As soon as Crawford was announced as the winner, the demand for him to square off against the unified super middleweight champion intensified. Turki Alalshikh even made a formal challenge to the Mexican fighter. Since Alalshikh announced that the fight is no longer on his radar, Alvarez has shifted his focus totally to his September 14th bout against Edgar Berlanga. On Monday, the Mexican spoke with Dan Cobio at a news conference and shared his thoughts on Crawford's recent victory. Despite what Canelo said, for me, I think that Crawford lost the fight. Or it was a draw. Or it could be the other side. He knows why weight classes are there now. Yeah, he has been mentioning my name a lot lately because he wanted to sell the Madrimov fight. If they don't talk about me, they don't sell anything. If the money is right, I don't like fighters who move around the weight classes. Guess who's back in the spotlight? That's right. Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford, and David Novitz Canelo, often dubbed Cinderella, recently stirred the pot by suggesting that a bout with Bud would be a breeze for him, but there's more to the story. He's also dropped hints about why he's asking for a staggering $200 million to face the Mexican monster. Here's a hint. It's all about the risks involved over the weekend. His Turki Alalshikh made headlines by expressing his readiness to propose a deal that could set up a match between Canelo and Crawford. This topic was soon addressed by the podcast host during a conversation with Canelo, who was asked if a significant offer might persuade him to take on the fight. In response, Canelo, confident in his ability to take down Crawford with ease, said, "Why not? I think Crawford. Don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter, but for me in my weight class, it's an easy fight. Easy money." Remarkably, the former undisputed super middleweight champion went so far as to say that there is a particular reason why he dislikes taking on guys like Crawford. "He moves a lot, and the fight is not that great," said Canelo. But after watching Crawford's bout against Israel Madrimov last weekend, Canelo seems to have had a change of heart. "I saw Crawford in the last fight, and he doesn't move that much now, so if the money is right, why not?" Meanwhile, Crawford wasn't the only topic of discussion during the podcast. David Benavidez, who has held the WBC mandatory challenger spot for more than a year, has been constantly calling for a showdown with the Mexican superstar earlier this year. Canelo Alvarez made headlines by demanding a staggering $200 million to face the Mexican monster, a move that drew significant criticism nonetheless. Canelo remains resolute in his demand, sticking firmly to his $200 million figure. Toward the end of the podcast, he fielded questions from fans who had dialed in to engage with him directly. Canelo was asked by a fan why he was demanding $200 million. To this, Canelo quickly replied, "Obviously he is a risk, he is a great fighter, and plus he brings to the ring on fight night 25 pounds more than me." Canelo nonetheless asserts that he doesn't care if Benavidez shows up for the fight overweight because I can beat that guy tomorrow. But only if he gets the money he desires. In a surprising turn of events in the boxing arena, Turki Alalshikh has thrown a curveball by pulling out of the eagerly awaited Canelo Alvarez vs Terence Crawford fight instead of this high-profile one. Clash Turki is now redirecting his attention to the US market. His new strategy involves spotlighting grand-scale matchups featuring iconic figures like Crawford, signaling a shift towards promoting even bigger spectacles in the sport. What implications does this have for boxing enthusiasts in the broader industry? Might this approach redefine the future of boxing promotions as Turki focus on emerging talents in big US matches? The world of international boxing could be on the brink of a major transformation after concluding an important talk with his staff. Turki Alalshikh recently changed the direction of the boxing promotions that we may anticipate in the years to come. "He just wrapped up an important meeting now with my team planning for the upcoming fights that we will make for 2024 to 2025. He tweeted. Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford's possible mega fight came to an end with this comment, which sparked debates among boxing fans. The anticipated mega fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford took a dramatic turn, with a single comment igniting fervent discussions among boxing enthusiasts. "I decided to disregard the Canelo fight as I don't want it anymore. Instead, I will be focusing on the US market with bigger fights, especially for the legend Crawford," he explained. Furthermore, Alalshikh is not just stopping at Crawford. He plans to bolster the careers of several rising stars. "Additionally, I will support making fights for Bouts for Haney, Shocker, Ortiz, Anderson, Benavidez, Sapa, and more," he continued. But there appears to be a problem with Tim, so imprecise communications have caused a reassessment. The change in tactics also reflects a bigger plan, which includes international fights. Alalshikh has hinted at intriguing matches for the Riyadh season and beyond for the rest of the world. "Definitely, I am focusing on the Riyadh season card, Wembley edition 21st of September, and depending on the results of the Riyadh SC season's opening card, Bivol vs Better, on the 12th of October, I will build the card for the rematch of Fury vs Usyk on the 21st of December and another big card on the first quarter of 2025 as he gears up for his showdown with Edgar Berlanga." Canelo Alvarez wasted no time addressing the financial disagreements that have stalled talks for a bout with Terence Crawford. When questioned about Turki Alalshikh comments, Canelo responded bluntly, "Believe me, I'm very intelligent. I'm not the one that wants to fight. If they want to pay me what I'm worth, great. If not, I don't really need them," he stated. An ESPN reporter then queried about the specifics of his worth, to which Canelo responded, "I would need a little over $100 million. Canelo's strong place in the boxing world is demonstrated by his reluctance to accept anything less than his market value and his self-awareness. Is there a promoter out there who will give Canelo what he wants?" This shift comes in the wake of a public tirade from Alalshikh, who launched a scathing critique at Alvarez after the Mexican champion rejected any collaboration unless it aligned with his personal terms during a press conference in Beverly Hills, where Canelo Alvarez was hyping his September 14th bout against Edgar Berlanga. Tensions erupted when asked about a possible challenge from Alalshikh to face Terence Crawford. Alvarez didn't hide his irritation with how Alalshikh had handled the plan. "My response to this yesterday was that they texted me and said we can talk about the fight in February with Crawford. They texted me, and I said, look, I don't want to talk about any other fight. I'm focused on this fight. I don't like the way he talks if he wants to work with me. It's my way. I don't need it. It's not the way to approach me," Alvarez stated. Alvarez dismissed the idea of fighting Crawford because of their disparate weight classes. The Mexican celebrity, though, stated that he would consider the bout for the appropriate sum in reaction. Alalshikh, a rising figure in the boxing scene bolstered by substantial backing from the Saudi crown prince, loudly lambasted Alvarez for dodging tough bouts. This sharp criticism looked to shut down any prospects of future collaboration. "I heard what Canelo said, that he respects me but doesn't like the way we do business. As for him respecting me, it doesn't matter to me if he does or not. As for the way I do business, I know why he doesn't like it, because I only target big fights at fair prices, so of course anyone who likes easy fights won't like that." Alalshikh said. He continued, "And I know how he feels after losing to the Bivol, so he's been looking for easier fights ever since. Also, I'm not the one who's afraid of fighting Benavidez or Crawford. Therefore, I knew he was wasting our time and making excuses with big amounts of money that can't be paid, so I'm continuing my way to make big fights that serve the boxing world. And he's on his way to making easy show-only fights with the potential of facing Crawford now out of the picture, and Benavidez ascending to 175 pounds due to his frustrations over securing a fight with Alvarez. Alalshikh chances of landing a high-profile match with Alvarez seems increasingly slim. Alvarez faces accusations of steering clear of evenly matched bouts, instead eyeing matchups against Chris Eubank Jr., Yelchero, other adversaries, where he's projected to hold a significant edge. The Mexican icon continues to wield considerable influence over his career trajectory, backed by a guaranteed $35 million payday for each bout, shrugging off the lackluster fallout. With the Saudi advisor, the Mexican fighter is primed and ready to take on mandatory challenger Berlanga on September 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. When the press pressed him further, the pound-for-pound star responded with poise, effortlessly reminding everyone why he remains boxing's top attraction. He said, "I'm good with what I'm doing. I don't need that kind of things. I'm not looking for that kind of fight. If they want the fight, okay, it's in my way, not in their way." In the midst of the uproar, UFC sensation and provocator Conor McGregor also weighed in with his opinion, criticizing the boxing legend. McGregor threw his support behind Alalshikh, arguing that moving on from Canelo was a smart move. According to the Irish fighter, the Mexican champ is merely a paper tiger with no real star power amid the chaos. UFC star and notorious provocator Conor McGregor entered the fray with his own take. He didn't hold back in his critique of the boxing hero, voicing his support for Alalshikh. McGregor labeled the choice to move past Canelo as a shrewd strategy, dismissing the Mexican champion as nothing more than a paper tiger with a lack of genuine star appeal. The notion of bringing Alvarez into the mix, arguably boxing's biggest star, had fans buzzing with excitement. Unfortunately, the matchup has been put on hold for the time being, pending agreement between the involved parties. While UFC's former double champion, Conor McGregor, has seized a moment to share his perspective in a fresh social media update true to form. McGregor took his usual swipe at the four-division boxing champion, mocking him for demanding $200 million to face David Benavidez. While the boxer, he justified his high price tag by highlighting Ben's formidable skills. The Notorious was then faced dismissively, calling him a cornflake. He then supported Alalshikh action, adding insult to injury by declaring that the UFC's forthcoming event at the Sphere in Vegas would erase them from the scene entirely. He said Canelo is a cornflake. He has about 300K buys in him. He does not generate anything near what he seeks to be paid. UFC no is going to run them from the strip right. Moving on, Canelo doesn't sell. Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you enjoyed this one.